Good morning, everyone. I want to welcome you to the first town hall for the School of Medicine. My hope is that these town halls provide important updates and answer your questions. Today, for our first one, I have the pleasure of being joined by two of my newly appointed leaders in the school. Dr. Vineet Chopra, Executive Vice Dean overseeing research and clinical affairs, and Dr. Shanta Zimmer, Executive Vice Dean of Education. I want to thank them, as well as all of you online, for making time to be part of this important conversation this morning about the path forward for our school. I'm excited to share with you and have them share with you their vision for their new roles. But before we jump into that and to your questions, I want to address our campus on a personal level and acknowledge that this is truly a challenging time for academic medicine. With funding reductions from the NIH and uncertainty from Washington, there is certainly pressure on health systems nationwide. We're not alone in this, and we're seeing the impact of those effects, especially across our research landscape. This is creating real anxiety for many of you, for many institutions, and really for academic medical centers across our country who are bracing for difficult decisions. I want to assure you that this has our full attention. However, here's what I firmly believe. I don't think this is the same type of crisis for us or a time of panic for us. I think this is actually a moment of opportunity for us. The CU School of Medicine is better positioned than many of our peer institutions to weather this storm. Thanks to the strength of our clinical partnerships, the resilience of our research enterprise, and the deep commitment of our faculty, staff, and learners. We have an incredible innovative culture, a collaborative spirit, and a clear sense of purpose here. And while those are certainly nice ideas, they're not just lip service here. They are truly our strategic advantage. One of the most important steps we're taking is to launch a new system of funds flow. First, I acknowledge that this is a significant change, and like any culture shift or any change, it comes with understandable concerns. But it's actually a necessary evolution in how we support our mission and properly steward our resources. At its core, this model is designed to promote transparency, consistency, and equity across all clinical departments. It really helps us ensure that every dollar, whether it comes from clinical revenue or hospital support, is aligned with the work that we value most: delivering excellent care to our patients, advancing healthcare through research, or educating the next generation of clinicians across the different educational programs we have. Rather than a financial reconstruction, I would consider this a strategic realignment that really answers fundamental questions. For example, are we investing where we see the greatest impact? Are we enabling our faculty to succeed, whether they're in clinic, in the lab, or in the classroom? By creating standard pathways for how funds are distributed, and by tying that to our mission, we reduce friction, we improve accountability, and we facilitate an environment that includes high performance so that we can compete better outside our institution rather than inside. This collaboration will provide better care for our patients, better opportunities for our researchers, and better opportunities for our students. Some key principles to know about funds flow, I think, are the following. First of all, and most importantly, the support that we get from the University of Colorado Hospital will be the same across the school and will extend across all of our departments. It'll be the same. It's not less, it's more. Support levels will also be benchmarked higher than almost all other academic medical centers. This is the principle of more than fair that we went into the funds flow discussion on both sides making that commitment. In addition, faculty compensation will not be impacted by funds flow. Department leadership will still manage faculty compensation and set that compensation based on market trends and other considerations as they have always done. Support will be available from the University of Colorado Hospital for new recruits as they ramp up their practice. This is new, and this will help us to grow our clinical enterprise, which in turn will help support our research enterprise and our educational mission. Our interdepartmental and partnership strategies will be aligned to ensure that all boats rise through better data, transparency, accountability, and importantly, well-placed rewards across all of our missions. This first round of work has been focused on the clinical funds flow and will start July 1st. This new model allows us to understand what works, what doesn't, and so that we can refine this over the next couple of years. Nothing is set in stone. Next, what we will do is conduct a similar review of our undergraduate and graduate medical education programs and our research enterprise so that they can similarly be supported and rewarded. Our success depends on partnership and honest dialogue. That's why you'll hear from us regularly as we make this transition. Department chairs will soon receive a slide set to share with their faculty and staff to answer further questions. And what I'm excited now to introduce is Dr. Chopra, who embodies a mindset similarly of optimism and brings an innovative energy to this new work. Vineet, I'd love you to take this opportunity now to share a little bit about your vision for this new role and, in my mind, how it will help us get to top 10 in 10.
Thanks, John, for that wonderful introduction and those framing comments, which I completely agree with. And thanks for your trust in Shanta and myself in these
Absolutely.
roles as well. As you know, this role did not exist in the school, and we've had to formally create a new title, new responsibilities for the position. So the question is, why did we go through this length? I believe that this position is critical to getting us to our shared vision of being top 10 in 10 years. When you look at the top 10 academic health systems across the country, the Mayo Clinic, Cleveland, NYU, UCSF, they have all been able to uniquely integrate and leverage their clinical, their research, and their quality portfolios to support their academic missions. So for example, when they see a patient in clinic for whom there is no standard of care or treatment, they offer them clinical trials at that point. When a scientist on campus has a new drug, a new device, or a new molecule, they easily link that to patients who would benefit from those interventions. And everything they do is embedded firmly within the philosophy of providing the highest quality of care to every patient in every phase of care at every time. My vision for this role, quite simply, is to do all of that, but to do it better, to be a force multiplier for our missions across these portfolios. I truly believe the two words that are most important are integration and alignment, and I think those two components will help us get there.
Vineet, that's inspiring, and I appreciate those comments. I'm certainly looking forward to working with you in this new capacity. Now, many of you already know Dr. Shanta Zimmer. She's been instrumental in our educational mission, particularly with the implementation of our new TREC curriculum. Shanta, can you talk about your plans for this enhanced leadership role in education and how, as I've charged you with, you will use that to differentiate the CU School of Medicine and bring the School of Medicine educationally to top 10?
Thanks, John, for the opportunity and for your commitment to elevating the educational mission. I'm excited to work with Vineet and with the whole team, and especially with you. We are definitely aligned on the vision of making the medical school a destination for top students from across the country. The new TREC curriculum, as you mentioned, has attracted wonderful candidates, and our first class of the curriculum graduated just last week, exceeding our expectations of leadership, curiosity, and commitment. The educational mission expands beyond our MD program to programs across many of the departments, and I'm looking forward to integrating the innovative excellence that occurs in all these pockets so that educators can learn from one another and create a think tank of sorts that advances not just the success of our students, but also the faculty who build their careers as educators. This vision includes the research education mission across our biomedical science programs, where now more than ever, we need to support the future of science and research and the people who are going to do that work. John, you've been a terrific champion for our research trainees during this tumultuous time, and we thank you.
Thank you, Shanta. I appreciate the deep experience you bring to this work, and I'd like to take this time now to address a few questions that we've received from our campus. This first question is for both you, Shanta, and you, Vineet. What do you see as areas in need of adjustment that would be your priorities for implementing change?
Thanks, John. Such an important question. But I think we should take a step back and think about first the opportunity we have in front of us with the strengths that we bring to the table. First, we have several programs that consistently make the U.S. News and World Report honor list across not just my department, but multiple clinical departments. We also can't forget that we already have a top 10. We have a top 10 pediatric hospital and faculty right here in our backyard, and they are an asset to our campus. Many of our departments rank in the top 10% of research funding in their respective fields, whether you look at the Blue Ridge ranking or for those where there is no such Blue Ridge ranking, total funding and research support. So what's missing? I want to go back to those two themes that I see of alignment and integration. To me, alignment means alignment across missions, across departments, and importantly, across our affiliates. The integration word, it really reflects moving like a multi-specialty practice group, more coordinated, more aligned, with shared risks, but also shared rewards. This adjustment will not be easy because we have always benefited from a federated model, where each of our departments has been able to manage their own book of business, and they've done it quite well. This is why we are where we are today. But as we think about funds flow, and we think about shared risk and alignment, I believe that the time we find ourselves in now, with all that's happening in the world around us, suggests that the old model will not serve us well. So a key adjustment for us is to adopt this unified mindset of working together, like a team, to support each other without thinking as much about individual winners or losers. That change won't be easy, but I believe it's critical to our success.
I do too.
In addition to integration and alignment, increasingly there are also threats to the funding of the educational mission. And we have to think creatively about how to maintain our culture of innovation and experimentation, risk-taking that will take us to the next level. This innovation will require increased collaboration and, as Vineet mentioned, close alignment. There have also been recent challenges to education threatening our teaching about health inequities and disparities. But we're hopeful that continued focus on excellence will also lead to professional opportunities for addressing the needs of our communities and drawing students from across the nation and across the state to our programs.
Shanta, that's great. And if I could, John, I'm going to flip the script a little bit and maybe ask you a question.
Sure.
We've received several questions from our campus, but we received one specifically about the role of staff and how that helps us with getting to top 10 in 10 years. So in what way does your vision include initiatives to improve staff well-being, in addition to the current initiatives focused on faculty well-being?
So before I address that, and staff are extremely important, I just want to say that this idea of us working together as a team, Vineet, that you brought up, is extremely important. As we face new challenges, the only way we can do that is to get all of our collective group together and really put our energies together and focus in one direction. I think that's going to make us successful. And Shanta, the idea about us elevating education and putting our students first here is going to be absolutely critical. So we want our faculty to all row in the same direction. We want to elevate the importance of our students, and we want to elevate the importance of our staff. So being top 10 really requires full engagement of our campus, and that absolutely includes our staff. You know, our staff I see as the front door to our success. We have close to 12,000 people employed by the CU School of Medicine, and half of those are staff. These are the folks that are spreading through word of mouth that this is not only a great place to work, but a great place to receive care, and we need to live up to that expectation. We've made strides in this area, I think, going forward by taking and making steps forward to provide new programs. We have a comprehensive approach to creating a workplace where the staff feel supported and valued, and we need to continue to do that. First, fair compensation and growth for staff are fundamental. So we're generating upward mobility and retention opportunities for our people. Several departments have already made progress by committing funding to additional training. That includes tuition support, mentorship, management training programs, and the F3 project for administrators. Career development is and needs to be a focus, including implementing clear pathways to promotion and growth ladders that chart a path to advancement for all of our people. Vineet, did you have other examples to add?
Oh, back to me. Okay. You know, our staff council is an example that I think about that has really ramped up participation to help us gain insight into the challenges our staff face and really improve the work environment. I think another area we're focused on that I'm proud of is our focus on workload and workflow optimization. This includes efforts to reduce administrative inefficiencies. We're in this brand new world of AI, and I see AI as a tool that we should all be using, not to replace staff, but to enhance the work that we do. We spend hours on manual data capture as one example where I think that could be implemented and help. I feel staff members are actually fairly unique because they share best practices and build community, as we saw just a few weeks ago at the Administrative Showcase that we sponsor at the school and other supporting forums. For those of us in the room, the energy was palpable. And it was such a treat to see so many of our leaders share common problems, but also key solutions as well. I think for us, leadership engagement and open communication are essential. Events like today's town hall give us the opportunity to hear directly from staff. I think that feedback plays a key role in shaping our priorities. As you said, John, we can't be top 10 without embedding staff well-being, their professional growth into this initiative.
Absolutely.
And I know we remain committed to that. But in the spirit of passing on questions, Shanta, what would you like to add?
Well, my education staff teammates are phenomenal, and I'll just simply add that our staff are essential to all aspects of our mission areas. On the education side, we're committed to creating opportunities for staff leadership development and are continuing to work to integrate our staff leaders into decision-making committees where their voices make all of us better.
It's great to hear such integration of staff and really focusing their integration on actually making decisions, right? As you, I think, said, Vineet, sometimes the best ideas come from the people who are doing the work.
Absolutely.
And so we're committed to listening to them. And in subsequent town halls, we're going to continue to bring forward their questions and do what we can to address concerns and answer questions. Another question that came up was received from Dr. Amy Bernard, who's an assistant professor in our Department of Immunology and Microbiology. And her question focuses on what we've witnessed firsthand is the spread of some misinformation and harmful cuts to science. So how do we better equip our campus to advocate for science moving forward? Vineet, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Thanks, John. And Amy, such an important question. I had the privilege of actually hearing Amy at a town hall that we ran in the Department of Medicine. She is, I think, the expert in this space. So maybe I'll copy some of her cues and things that I learned along the way. I think there's several strategies we need to think about as we focus on this issue. I think the first is that we need to really become better communicators of science, the importance of the work we do and why it matters. We're all scientists. We all love the details, but often we get focused on the technicalities and the specifics, and we end up losing half of our audience in that discussion. So I think we need to think about our delivery, our presentation of information, make it simple, make it crisp, make it relatable to the public. The second aspect that I've been thinking a lot about is how we communicate in terms of the channels we use for communication. I think about it today. When my parents visit from overseas, they watch the 6 o'clock news every night, and that is their source of information. But that is not true for most of the world. Most of the world doesn't tune in to their favorite radio channel or to their TV channel. They get their news from social media, from specific news feeds, or from their social circles, their friends and families, sending them stories. So I think we need to think strategically about how do we use those avenues, now that we know they exist, to our advantage, recognizing that this is the way people now consume information. Third, we have to continue our focus on advocacy and on policymakers, providing them with the bite-sized chunks of information they need about the value of our faculty, our work, and this campus. John, I know you and Chancellor Elliman have done this very well and continue to do it with trips to DC, trips to Capitol Hill. I also know many of our hospital leaders are very active on this front and are continuing doing the work, whether it's 340B funding issues or issues with site neutrality. We have to explain what these changes mean for our patients and our campus. So I think we need to continue to manage that stream of information with those relationships and those connections and think a lot about advocating for the work that we do here across those channels.
Thanks for that great answer, Vineet. And thank you, Dr. Bernard, for having the courage to attach your name to that question. I know you're very passionate about this work, and I know your work and advocacy in this area have really made positive impacts in our community. We've certainly experienced a lot of unrest across campus following executive orders around DEI. Shanta, given the LCME's recent decision to eliminate that accreditation element, addressing diversity and partnership programs, how does the School of Medicine plan to uphold its commitment to inclusivity in academic medicine?
Before I answer that question that I'm obviously very passionate about, I'll just add my list to the Dr. Amy Bernard fan club, and I appreciate how much Amy has done to teach our medical students and our graduate students about the importance of scientific communication and advocacy. In advocacy from a different perspective, really, I think this issue is one of those. The most important thing to note about this disappointing change that came through the executive orders and through the LCME, and particularly Standard 3.3, is that CU School of Medicine was never committed to recruiting and supporting the best students, residents, staff, and faculty because we were checking a box on a test. Rather, this has really been something that we've been committed to because it's important to our excellence. The result of diverse talent inevitably brings a higher level of performance to our campus. The most diverse teams across business, scientific discovery, education, and decision making are always the most productive. And our goal of being a top 10 medical school is perfectly aligned and necessitates alignment with the values of inclusive excellence. And our efforts to achieve this excellence will require increased health opportunities for our communities of students from kindergarten through the health professions, and a focus on meaningful professional experiences for those we are fortunate enough to recruit and retain.
Shanta, thanks for that. I want to say I feel we are firm, and I know this from meetings I've been in across leadership, but also across various departments, in our commitment to providing the best education and the best training for our leaders and learners across campus. For our next question, we've been asked to discuss our relationship and faculty support beyond UC Health. Our hospital partnerships, as you know, John, are critical to our mission. But my question for you, John, is in what ways do we support faculty from other institutions? For example, Children's Hospital of Colorado, Denver Health, National Jewish, and the VA.
I think we're really fortunate on this campus to have a number of different partners who each have their own mission and their own goals. So this is a great question. And yes, our hospital partners are clearly key to our mission. Each institution that we partner with plays a distinct role in serving a diverse patient population and also educating our next generation of healthcare professionals. And at each institution, those learners get different experiences, which I think culminates in them having a very broad education. So it's imperative that we elevate and reinforce this support for our faculty through all of our partners. At Children's Hospital of Colorado, for example, we are currently engaged in strategic discussions with hospital leadership to strengthen the alignment and deepen this collaboration. I think this will ensure that our shared vision reflects the voices and needs of our faculty at that institution and enhances our academic integration with that institution and others, and provides the structure necessary for long-term success. Similarly, our faculty, residents, and students make exceptional contributions at the VA, National Jewish, and Denver Health, often for some of the most vulnerable populations that we serve. So we're committed to ensuring equitable access to School of Medicine resources, leadership opportunities, and pathways for professional growth across all of our partnership institutions. In short, our institutional strength lies in the diversity of these partnerships. Going forward, we are focused on building a more balanced approach that affirms the value of all of our hospital-based faculty and ensures that they feel supported as full participants in our academic mission. Anything you'd like to add to that, Vineet?
No, John, that's a great response, and I completely agree with your views. I'd just add maybe a few things. Medicine is one of those very large departments that touches all of our affiliates. So I would like to say first, we're not only strong because of these partnerships, but we're also fairly unique because of these partnerships. Few systems have the diverse platforms we have, the unique faculty that we share, and the opportunity for impact across all of these populations. I think these partnerships, and I've seen this myself in our IM residency program, really allow us to recruit the best talent and also to serve populations across the state in important ways, again, honoring our mission and our commitment to the people of Colorado. I think we really have to think about creating these shared pathways for academic success, regardless of where people work. And that has been a challenge for us here at the department, but also I think across the school. So my vision is if you're part of the School of Medicine, the programs that we create for faculty development or for leadership, or the unique training that is in our specialties, must be open and available to all that could benefit from it. A selfish plug, I'm a big fan about this. I think our Mentorship Academy this year, and with the support of the School of Medicine, and in fact, many departments who provided resources to host the event, really spoke to the fact that we can do this if we put our hearts and mind to it. I think another key opportunity for us in the school and across our departments is better aligning with our affiliates to help them recruit and retain talent. When I first got here in the not so distant past, this was actually a competitive process. We would compete for the same residents for various faculty positions. And I know from personal experience that this actually led to a lot of friction and challenges in the relationship. I think we can do better. We need to lower the temperature, focus on what's best for a faculty member, not what's politically expedient or viable. When I got here at the first, there was a lot of friction, as I mentioned, and I think about this now in terms of where we are today. It's gotten much better. But I think there's still room here for more development and growth. The last piece I'll add is I think we have to get our leaders to work better together across our sites to ensure open and consistent dialogue in an ongoing way. As you know, I attend all of our VA and Denver Health Affiliation meetings, as does Shanta. You're there as well, and we'll soon attend my first meeting at Children's at their quality board. I'm looking forward to using these opportunities to learn more about our partners, engage more proactively, but also ensure our combined success as a school. Shanta, what are your thoughts?
Thanks, Vineet and John, both great points. Another question we received from the campus: with funding uncertainty following the NIH cuts and stop work orders, how will the CU School of Medicine continue to support and retain talented investigators and advance our research enterprise?
So that's an extremely important question. And before I answer that, though, I just want to say, Vineet, your concept of lowering the temperature and reducing the friction is sort of one of my mantras as I arrived on this campus. And I think we can trade friction with our partners for strength. And certainly we are stronger together.
Great.
The question about research and the impact on NIH is significant. I think that our school is really in a good position relative to our peer institutions, as I've said many times. And I don't want that to minimize the impact, because there are significant implications for investigators who have had awards terminated or have received stop work orders. Any disruption to this work, to people's passions, is concerning. But the numbers represent a modest impact. That is roughly a 5% decrease on our total research portfolio. As of May, we have had 42 award terminations and 6 official stop work orders. So these are important. But non-competing continuation awards are steady. So our existing funded research continues to move forward. And faculty continue to submit grant proposals, for which I'm very grateful. And in fact, we've had a slight increase over the past year. So please continue to submit your grants. Our leadership is actively working with researchers affected by these new administrative requirements, whether it's navigating no-cost extension approvals or drawdown rules from HHS. In short, we are doing our best, I think, and doing well managing this complexity in real time with dedicated teams helping faculty stay focused on their science. I'd like to thank in particular Amy Gagnon for her work in this, tireless work in this. She's been a great advocate and a great support for our faculty. Vineet, maybe you can provide some additional details?
Yeah, John, as you said, I think every school of medicine in the country is struggling, so we're not alone in this challenge. But I think we're also unique in how we've excelled at NIH funding. And literally, if you think about it, we've built this campus around us, all these buildings, through our indirects and our FNAs from our research portfolio. As you said, I think we are better prepared than some of our peer institutions, so we come at this from a position of relative strength. I want to say to everyone that I believe and I know for a fact that our school is committed to our research enterprise. That is, in fact, what makes us special and different. And we must continue to use all of those resources at our disposal, including our significant clinical engine, to support the research mission as we navigate this uncharted territory. In fact, that's one of the unique aspects of my new role, John, is that I have the ability to look across this and think about how we better synergize. There's several ways in which I think we can do that. The first example is the CU School of Medicine Gap Funding Program. As you know, this initiative was unanimously supported by all of the clinical chairs, who pool funds from their departments and reserves together to support the research mission. And importantly, this was regardless of which department benefited. It was for the benefit of the group. So far, we've allocated a little over $1 million. We continue to review those that have been affected by challenges stemming from the policies of the current administration. We are now also thinking about ways to provide support in new areas. For example, one area of threat is our training programs, our T32 programs, especially our clinical postdocs, where we continue to see challenges with funding. I'm also intrigued by this new idea of pivot funding opportunities. So these are specifically designated to individuals whose work was stopped because of the changes in our DEI policies and are now working to pivot their research portfolios to different areas. If we could provide some bridge funding for that, I think that'd be a wonderful opportunity for us as well. But I also want to recommend and highlight that we need to think about diversifying our portfolio. At least for the next few years, it's unclear what will happen with the NIH and indirects and FNA. And I think perhaps we may have become too dependent on one stream of funding in academia. It's time to look beyond traditional models, and as you know, we're actively doing this. For example, one area of huge growth is industry-focused clinical trials. Through work being led by Dr. Adit Giende, our new Senior Associate Dean for Clinical Trials, we are looking to revamp much of our clinical trial operations and platforms, making them more accessible, more agile for PIs. We also, I would highlight, have an incredible ARO on campus, the CPC, which is led by Dr. Mark Banaka. This unit, in fact, leads major international studies, and PIs from this team are often at the podium at major cardiovascular meetings presenting late-breaking clinical trials. Synergizing our campus operations with theirs is clearly a win for all of us. I think the other piece to recognize and talk about, which is on everyone's mind, is space. We have to think about space optimization perhaps a little bit differently. Dr. Leslie Berg will be launching a new space strategy that looks at maximizing the utility of space given this new area that we find ourselves in. Along with that comes expense management, discipline with data. We cannot afford to have high overhead or administrative bloat in the environment we're in today. We must look for synergies and efficiencies where possible, and there is much that we can do. And then finally, we have to lean on philanthropy and new revenue streams. In fact, we are very good at that on this campus. And that's where Dr. Naresh Mandava comes in his new role, looking at how to boost departments in certain areas of philanthropy for even more research success.
Thanks, Vineet. I mean, as you sort of rattled off some of those names, in addition to the two of you, which have been transformative, I think, for the school, even in the short number of weeks you've been in your new roles, but with Adit and Leslie, who have really hit the ground running in looking at ways that we can optimize and further support our clinical and basic science discovery research. And with Naresh's new role in philanthropy, I really feel that we're firing on all cylinders. And that's what sort of gives me the hope and the perspective that we not only were better suited, but we've made changes to be even better suited, if you can, as we take on these new challenges. So thank you for that. I think those are crucial insights into how we'll retain talent and attract the next series of investigators. So we've heard from both of you about your leadership vision for the school. How can faculty, students, and staff participate in or support your strategic goals? Shanta, maybe you can answer this one first.
Sure. First, I'd also just like to say thank you to the commitment to the research mission. I think it's really important that we've also used some of those gap funds to be able to continue to support the next generation of scientists. Right. If we walked away, like some institutions did, from supporting recruitment of
students,
new graduate students, yeah. And for example, absolutely, then we would see a gap later in the future of science. So thanks for that commitment. We really value everyone's support and input. Success of a school like ours is only possible because of the people. Given our collective mission to improve the health of the communities we serve, it's really important for all of us to build our goals through that lens of service and commitment to one another.
Shanta, I completely agree. It takes a village. No idea that comes to us is a bad idea. And I think all ideas should be welcomed as we think about this really uncharted territory we find ourselves in. So my big takeaway is we need your input and participation in town halls, in meetings, in engagements on all platforms to provide us with those burning questions, the guidance that we need as leaders to move forward during this difficult time. But I'll add a couple of things. I think first and most importantly, we need each of you to support each other during this period. Every one of us is managing the challenges we face in our own unique way. And yes, we are all managing these challenges. So one prescription, perhaps, if I might say, is that we can all take is to focus on community and connection. Checking in on each other, really celebrating the wins, perhaps now more than ever, but also sharing in the lows. And then as we think about this bold new frontier, the changes you've made, John, the changes that lie around us, I think we have to become more open to embrace and welcome that change. Like, I know it won't be easy, but we have an outstanding team behind us that sets us up well for what comes next.
So I'd like to thank both of you, as well as our audience and all the members of our new team and our extended team in the School of Medicine for sharing your time with us this morning, and for the audience for sharing their time with us this morning, and for submitting thoughtful questions. We look forward to focusing more on our staff and featuring other key leaders as we continue in this series. I'm certainly interested in everyone's feedback on what topics you'd like to hear in future town halls and what questions you'd like us to answer. I encourage you to scan the QR code on the next screen, fill out a quick survey to let us know your thoughts. Also remind you that a recording of this session will be made available on the Dean's Office website for anyone who might have missed the discussion today or who just wants to review it again. I'll also share the link in my next Dean's message. Thanks again to all of you for joining us this morning. I hope you have a great day. I hope you carry the spirit of positivity forward in your day and in the rest of the week. Thank you all for everything you do for the School of Medicine at CU.